Why they did it, I do not know. But a recent poll of American people discovered that 97% of American people believe that in a crisis, God is a bad crisis manager. Now, if you consider the parable today about the weeds and the wheat, where the servants of the landowner say to him, should we pull up the weeds that have infiltrated the wheat field? He goes, no, leave them, don't bother. You might end up destroying some of the wheat, and I want to have a maximum harvest. So just leave them alone until harvest time, then we'll sort things out. Now, when we look at life and reality today, not only in the United States, but in the church and in the world, check it out. Maybe there's something to the fact that God might be not a good crisis manager. For what reason? Well, in the church, there's all sorts of doctrinal and moral confusion. One pope says this, one pope says that, one cardinal says this, he's contradicted by another one. This bishop stands for this bishop opposes that. And you find yourself thinking to yourself, man, what is going on? In fact, the Episcopalians even have a little saying that says, if there's mist in the pulpit, there's definitely going to be fog in the pews. And there's definitely that in the church. Much confusion, huh? Look at our nation. There's all sorts of tensions. This group against that group. This group is victimized, they feel, because of this, and this. People are angry at these ones who they believe hold power. You have two political parties that seem more interested in pushing their philosophy of how the nation should be run rather than serving the people they were lawfully elected. They lawfully elected them. We deserve more from that. Look at our own personal lives. We know what is right, but we find ourselves pulled to do what is wrong. We often tell ourselves, almost as if it was like a series of addictions, we say, I want to change, but then how often do you and I find ourselves to be powerless over making the changes we know we need to make? What is going on? Would you believe that according to the Book of Wisdom in the first reading, this is a religious experience? I know. You're going to say, oh, it can't be because, man, religious experiences are beautiful and uplifting. Everything you described is a pain in the neck, and it's ugly, and it's terrible, and it's awful. Right, except for one thing. Some religious experiences are very beautiful and uplifting. Other religious experiences are the saddest of the sad experiences in life. You know, there's one saint by the name of Francisco Borgia. He was the third master general of the Jesuits, and get this, before he became a Jesuit priest, after he was widowed, he was a rich duke in Spain. He had castles all over the place, he had money in the treasury, and he had a lot of political power and pull. He was, at least according to that time in Spain, one of the most powerful men in the country. Guess what changed his life? One of his jobs, man, was this. When the Queen of Spain died, one of his jobs as a civil official was to identify her body, right? So he and his wife and all the men and women of the court, the leading people, the top echelon of Spain itself in that day, all the somebodies, they opened up the sarcophagus and he looked in, and the queen, who had been very, very beautiful in life, was bloated, discolored, she was rotting, and the smell was so horrible from it all that the men literally vomited and the women passed out. And Francis Borgia looked at that and said to himself, all this money, all this power, a beautiful babe I'm married to, all the stuff I have in life, and it ends up so horrible? And that's what made the change in his life, where he then turned to God and gave his heart to God and began a whole different direction of life, including after when his wife died, he entered into the Jesuits and lived a religious life of serving God. Now, here's my point. All the things I described, notice we've started with your personal experience, right? Now check it out. How is it a religious experience? It's one of those religious experiences where it drives home that we need something. No. We need someone more powerful than the experiences that are so negative in our church, in our country, and in our own personal lives. And what does Jesus say about it today? A man sowed seed in a field, and wheat grew up. And among the wheat, an enemy came and infiltrated it and also put in there weed seeds that grew up in due time, and they began to interfere with both the wheat and with the farmer's plans. So what's the point of that? That doesn't sound like much, does it? Except for when you consider this. Jesus wants you to know that he is very well aware of what's going on earth, and that he is very well aware of what's going on in your heart, and he's very well aware of your consternation at these things, as well as your concern and worry. And he does that because he loves you, and secondly, because he doesn't mess around. He doesn't act like how Americans in a 97% poll think he should act. He's the sovereign Lord. Look at the book of wisdom, the majestic portrayal of God. You are all powerful. Therefore, because you're powerful, you're lenient. Look at the leniency as it appears in the gospel today, man. The leniency of God appears in that master. The enemy is the devil. The wheat are the good people on earth. The weeds are the wicked people on earth. And the servants are the angels of Almighty God. And what the parable is telling us, or what Jesus is telling us, are two things. Number one, God is in control. Trust that God will do what he needs to do. He's the wisest because God is not wise. God is wisdom because of the very nature of his being and his infinity and his absolute excellence. Now, why does he let this be? In the church, evil people with good people. Evil clergy with good clergy. In this country, good people with evil people. Why does he let it go? There's only one reason. His power and his mercy, his clemency, as the book of wisdom says. Check it out, man. They say to him, and these servants of the Lord in the wheat field, these are angels. They can accomplish very easily what they need to do. The tiniest little, most minor angel in heaven, with one just nod of his head, could obliterate the universe. This is how powerful those angelic beings are. Master, should we go and clean these wicked people out? No, no, no. I don't want that, because there's still time, and I want to make sure that my wheat isn't damaged. In other words, you know what he's doing? And this is the second part of this parable. It propels you into the face of God. And as you stand before him, here's the question. Where do you stand? Are you among the wheat in the world? Or are you among the weeds? Are you a source of evil? And we can't get away with, I'm going to be okay because I'm a good person. There's nothing, man, in the Bible that tells you that. But the Bible tells us that the humble, those who do what is right and give to other people what is theirs by right, those who look for God and seriously set themselves to find God and serve God, those who, as the old Baltimore Catechism said, know him, love him, and serve him, will be happy with him forever in the life of the world to come. So if there's something going on in your life, there's good news for you today, especially if it's not going good. Let's say you're not living according to the gospel, or you're not living according to church teaching here and there. Look at what God offers you today. He's saying to you, I'm not going to destroy you. I want you to be part of my wheat. Turn to me, come to me. And you could say, well, how do I do that? It's simple. Those things in back are called confessionals. You go to confession and say to the priest, it's really been a long time, and I kind of don't even know how to go anymore. Could you kind of help me make a good confession? That's all you got to do. And guess what? When you even do that, and your heart's moved to do that, that ain't you. The sacrament of penance in the ritual says people who approach the sacrament of penance are moved literally by God. So you are experiencing God, and God is drawing you to a life where you can abandon your sins, be washed free in your tears and in the blood of Christ, and you can be free to undergo the proper canonical procedures if you need to have a marriage blessed or something, or to straighten out your situation with the church. You got beautiful priests here and a great deacon. So you can go to them and say, give me a hand here. What can I do? and they'll be able to guide you and show you. And if one says to you, especially if you know you're doing wrong and it's clear you're doing wrong, and they go, you're just a good person, we're just going to leave you alone because we love you. Go to another one that's going to love you, but one that's going to say, yeah, you're right, we do need to work on some kind of healing here. And then let him do it for you, and he can take care of it, and it's a pretty awesome thing. So here's my point today then. Look, in this world of absolute confusion, here's the question. Man, where the heck is God? God is here. But God, right now, is holding back his hand. Some of you are devotees of Fatima or the great apparitions of the Blessed Mother. Think, guys, how many times the Virgin has said to people in apparitions, I hold back the arm of God. When she's saying those things, she is subject to God completely, and anything God wants is her will. So when she says, I'm holding back the arm of God, what she's really saying is this: God is still giving you a break. Use the time. Find God. Every day you got to take time for prayer. I know you got work. I know when I come home from doing the stuff I do, I got to lay down for a couple minutes on the couch, kick my feet up, and I'm there and I'm like, oh, this feels good. And sometimes I don't move for the rest of the time. Heart condition. Yay. So anyway, the thing of it all is this. In the end, you guys, look, God is here. And if it seems that God is not acting on our behalf, it's only because right now he's got the biggest fish to fry. He wants to make sure he can haul into that kingdom as many souls and people that he can. And always remember the words of Jesus to St. Faustina in the Diary of Divine Mercy. You could be sitting there and saying to me, Father Rick, guess what I'm like? That's the Omen song. So you do it like that, right? So anyway, you say the stuff, I think I'm beyond hope. You're not. You know what the good news is? In the Diary of Divine Mercy, man, St. Faustina is told by Jesus, the bigger the sinner, the greater the claim they got on my mercy. How's that for a mean, tyrannical God? And you'll have people, even in the church, say, these laws of the church, these rules, these regulations, they're not good, they're hurting people, blah, 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 all that stuff. That makes God a tyrant. That's not God speaking through that person. That's the devil. The devil wants us to think that God is mean, he's a tyrant, that he's going to slap on you laws and rules and regulations that are going to oppress you, that the church, by telling you what to do or giving you wise direction, it's tyrannical and it's robbing you of your dignity as a person. But it's not true. The scriptures tell us that the man or the woman, it says there in wisdom, the man or woman that turns to God becomes the fullest person they can be in what God intends. And that's what St. Catherine of Siena said. You will be a true believer to the degree that you give yourself to God. So look, take heart. When things get you depressed and you wonder about the world and, oh, I brought my kids into this world. Did I make a mistake? No, you didn't. Because in the end, man, the Lord of the church is Jesus Christ, and the King of the universe is Jesus Christ. And because he's King of the universe, you would think that we would be specks of dust that he wouldn't even care about. And yet, his love is so great and so infinite that every one of us is loved by him as if we're the only being in the universe that existed with him. Is that super cool or what? What a freaking amazing God. This is so awesome, man. So this is our thing today. This is our glory. Now, if you want to do something about it, ask yourself, am I more with the weeds or with the wheat? And if I'm with the wheat, what can I do to be closer to God? What can I do? If I'm part of the weeds, what changes? And don't even go crazy with a big plan. What's the first step I could take? What can I do to say to God, hey, I need your help? And it might just start with that after Mass, kneeling down in front of the tabernacle and saying to him, I really need your help. Please show me what to do next. And he will. I'm going to tell you something, man. My whole life has been a search for God. And some people go, well, how'd it go? Well, guess what? I was an atheist. Look at me now. La, la, la. I'm in vestments. I'm a priest. And that's the most amazing thing about God. So if he can take a goof like this, really, somebody the world would consider a loser, and he can make me a priest, just think what he could do with you. Isn't that super cool? And I want you to leave this church today feeling pumped up and jazzed and having the desire to go out there and set the world on fire. And remember to, as we do all these things, in a moment we're going to go to Holy Communion. Remind yourself, this is not a symbol. It is Jesus as real as I'm sitting in that pew or that priest is in that pulpit. I'm going to receive his body, blood, soul, and divinity, and for 15 or 20 minutes, as the host exists in my body, I will be physically and spiritually joined to Jesus as we're going to be forever in heaven. So you receive at Mass a foretaste of the taste of heaven. That's why we're here, and that's what it's about. So man, this is it. So if you're sitting there and you're saying, man, I never thought of some of this stuff, guess what? At Mass, right here at St. Greg's, he's illuminating your soul. He's got his arm around you and he's showing you the mysteries of the kingdom. If there's a part of you that says, son of a pup, I think I really kind of would want to get into this more. He's drawing you and calling you. Look, right here at Mass, he's pulling in. You might say, I can't be bothered, I'm bored. This guy, I hope he shuts up soon, and I will. And the thing of it all is this, go home and say, that long-winded priest. But the thing of it all is, in the end, look, even if you walk out and you go, I didn't like it, or it was boring, remember one thing. When creatures are threatened, how are they threatened? Fight or flight? Flight takes the form psychologically of boredom. Fight takes the form of anger. And that's a religious experience too. You have to ask yourself, why did it set me off? And what I would do if I was you is this. I don't take it personal. You go back to the Lord, and when you pray, you say, I felt this or I felt that. Show me why. What do I need to see? Ask him that. And if you're really serious about it, he'll show it to you. But be careful. He doesn't play games. And the other thing is this. If you want to play around with it like you're a bunch of silly kids in a basement with a Ouija board, well, let's see if something appears, which is really dumb to do. Just to warn you, don't do this at home. The thing of it all is this, then he won't mess with you. And you'll say, oh, Father Rick was wrong. I prayed for help and nothing happened. But you know in your heart, and he can read your heart, and he knows in your heart that you're just playing a game with him. And God doesn't bode well with game players. He's far too loving, far too great, far too awesome, and far too true. But look at, if something registered with you today, in the midst of all this chaos in this world and in the church, can you see what my point is? God is touching you right now, and he's showing you. So don't be afraid. Keep your nose to the grind. And if everybody in your family walks away from the religion, you stay true blue. In the end, perseverance counts.